All right, welcome to the Vegas Squares podcast. This is the NFL recap edition. We are sitting here in studio after a wild, wild Sunday in the NFL. I feel like you could say that every Sunday, but this one in particular had a lot of games that came down to the wire. A lot of games maybe a lot of people didn't expect to be as close as they were, and a lot of games that maybe people thought would be close. It's Cleveland. Didn't end up being as close as Token Tony and others thought they would be. But nevertheless, we are going to recap the NFL that was in Week 6. I got Spike on my left, Token Tony on my right. We are in a full studio. Spike, Token, what's up, guys?
Not much. Just finished off almost the week of 6 of NFL, so.
Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah. I don't know. Who the fuck cares about the game tomorrow, so. I think I'm going to go to the Packers bar down the street from me and blow it up.
No, there is a Packer bar down the street from our studio, Big Dog's Draft House.
There's
shameless plug.
There's one down the street over by the Arby's that we ate at the one time.
The Arby's that we ate at the one time?
Yeah, off of
like
Flamingo and Jones.
Jones? Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a Packer bar down there, too?
Yeah, it's called Jackson's.
Oh, yeah, I remember them. The ones that...
I want to wear my Lions jersey in there.
I think
they won't
Do you think I'll make it out alive?
They won't even give you a second look. You guys are irrelevant.
Do you think I'll make it out alive?
Yeah, because they won't even know you're there.
Yeah.
You wear a Vikings jersey, you may not. You may have a shot at getting beat up. And this year, if you wear a Bears jersey. But, anyways, what's up, Spike?
I'm sure somewhere in the universe there exists a sports betting podcast where people actually get picks right. This ain't it. And
we didn't do that bad.
I fucking did. I did atrocious this week.
So, well, you know what? That's why I like to have that disclaimer on our website, tail us or fade us. I should say, we should put a picture of us, and the picture of Token and I say tail us, and then the picture of you should be fade us. Actually, even tailing me may not have been profitable. I don't remember exactly all of my picks. I do put my picks out on the Action Network under our Vegas Squares podcast handle, and today I believe I went 4-2-1, and we'll talk about it when it comes down to it, but I'm pretty pissed off about that first half of the Chargers game.
Yeah. And my bold prediction this week was not a good one.
I don't think anybody's did. Did you? How'd yours do?
Yeah, I did. Because I stole yours from the week
that's
before.
right, yeah.
And I said that after today there would only be one undefeated team, and that is now correct.
That is true.
Yeah, I said the NFC North would go 3-0 this week. Right now, they're 1-1 coming into tonight's game against Green Bay, and hopefully Green Bay goes down. But I don't see it happening.
Well, before we discuss what happened Sunday, let's talk about the Monday night game a little bit. That's what a lot of people think. I'd be willing to bet this game may be a little more interesting than. I can tell you what one thing's going to do. Who are the Monday night broadcasters? I know Jason Witten. Who does the play-by-play? Is it anymore? Who knows?
Madden.
I know Booger McFarland's on the sideline, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be ball-washing the shit out of Aaron Rodgers.
Of course. It's ESPN. They have to. That's part of their shtick, especially now that Peyton Manning's retired. They need to have the not Brady's that they can ball-wash.
Yeah. Line currently still 9.5, depending on where you look. Over under 46. Let's remind the public about what we have going for this game tonight.
Yeah, it's Token took over 46.5, saying that Aaron Rodgers can probably do that by himself. Aaron, you have Green Bay money line, which
low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that. I'm actually going under the total. I'm fading Tony on this one. I just, 80% of Aaron Rodgers plus 0% of an NFL caliber quarterback on the other side, to me, just smells like a 13-10 game.
Yeah, but also, he gets a lot of late hit penalties called his way as well and all that.
Yeah, but Green Bay does that too, because what's his name?
Clay Matthews.
Yeah, Matthews can't stop getting called for roughing the passer penalties, so... it's just... But I don't see either of these teams being able to finish drives, so I'm not concerned about... Well, I'm not going to watch it, so
if you ask Token Tony, the X factor so far, Randall Cobb is due to play at this point.
Fair enough.
Randall Cobb, the X Factor. Boy. All right, anyways, so we're going to all stick with our picks. They're locked in. Does anybody want to change their pick before Monday night's game?
I'm leaving mine the same.
Nah, is it still 46.5? I don't have a...
It's 46.
46 right now.
I'll leave it at 46.5. I don't care.
All right. Yeah, I'm fine.
Screw the hook.
All right, rock and roll. All right, well, let's recap the Sunday that was in the NFL. There's a lot of games, a lot of action, a lot of storylines. We will start with the Buccaneers and the Falcons. Falcons were able to win this game 34-29. Seemed to be a bit of a shootout, but to me, I watched this game, very ugly. Jameis Winston making his first start, 395 and 4 touchdowns, a lot of that in garbage time. But still, no matter. I mean, they were able to kind of pull out, make it close. And if you watch the game, that little weird lateral at the end was... So there's a lot of things wrong in Tampa Bay, and this 5-point loss, although the score was close, I don't think this game was ever really in that kind of vicinity.
Yeah, I mean, this just seemed like the kind of game where it was just a track meet, both teams going back and forth, neither team playing defense. So, as impressive as Jameis Winston's numbers were, aside from the 2 picks, Matt Ryan on the other side, 31 of 41 for 354, 3 scores, no mistakes, and, looking like the type of quarterback I expected him to be. But again, this was another one of those games that I just don't like to see where teams are, 300 and something yards through the air and about 70 on the ground. That's not a recipe for winning in the NFL. Maybe in this NFC South where they don't have secondaries.
Well, and as I say, a game like this, the back 7 of Tampa is all world bad. I mean, they are statistically almost the worst team in NFL history. So that coupled with no Devonta Freeman again, even though he was due to start, something must have happened pregame or whatever. I think the game plan going into this was to attack that atrocious secondary. I mean, the Bucs front 4, actually, they've spent a lot of draft picks and money on that front 4 with the rotation. They got Pierre-Paul, Vita Vea, Vinny Curry, Gerald McCoy. But with all of that strength up front, they are heavily lacking in the back 4. And I think Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons are the perfect team to take advantage of that.
Yeah, Matt Ryan is definitely one of those ones that you consider for top 5 in passing yards every year, if not even more. I mean, with Devontae out, like you said, it's going to be a struggle to open up the passing game that way. But, I mean, Ryan's got so many weapons on his wide receiver core that it's irrelevant. So,
yeah, all 3 wide receivers, including even the tight end Austin Hooper, had good games. Julio's still out of the end zone. Hasn't seen the end zone in like a year almost of game time. When you're winning, that's not a problem. But is that something that the Falcons should be concerned about? That, I mean, he did have 145 yards in receiving, so he's able to pace, possession receiver, move the ball down the field. He's able to get double teams. Is that going to be an issue for the Falcons going forward? Is Julio the type of guy that's going to be like, I need the ball down the end zone?
I don't know. I mean, as long as I think you're right. Winning cures a lot of ails, and if you're able to put up wins, he's still getting his yards. He's still getting his touches. I mean, it was 143 yards, and he did it on 10 receptions. So it's not like they were fading away from Julio in this game. I just, getting into the end zone is nice. It's sexy, but if you're winning games, the mindset for good NFLers is that it doesn't matter who is the one punching it in, as long as it's getting punched in and the team is winning.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jameis on this one, he wasn't in the W on this one.
No, but like I said, 395, not bad. One of the picks was a deep ball that I wouldn't say it was underthrown. It was right there. Defender made a great play. And then a ball thrown in the end zone that deflected off of a Bucs receiver's helmet and flew straight up in the air. And when a ball's right up in the air, that's never good. So I'd say give Winston credit for one of those interceptions, the deep ball, but the second one wasn't his fault. I'd say he played okay. I think the way he played today puts end to the speculation of should Ryan Fitzpatrick be in there. Jameis gives them the best chance to win, which they're not a good team, but you have to go with at least your best shot to win at that point. So you have Atlanta now 2-4, and I believe Tampa is now 2-4, both still sitting in the basement. You said you think that as long as Atlanta won today, as long as Atlanta won, they would still be in contention.
Yeah, and it's such a weird division right now where anything can happen, and we're still in week 6, so it's not like anybody is mathematically eliminated.
Right, I understand that.
So
even Tampa, they're 2-4 as well.
Right, it's obviously the Saints are cruising at 4-1. Obviously, the Panthers have looked okay, and the Bucs and the Falcons. I don't know. I just, as much as I want to say that Tampa Bay is definitively out, Falcons are definitively still in contention. I don't know that I can do that this early, and I know in yesterday's or the day before's podcast, I was saying, this is a must-win, have to hold on. Falcons need to win this game to be able to contend. Now, the more I think about it, the more I think that it's way too early to make that kind of determination.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are not out of it yet. There's still plenty of season left to continue with, and they make maybe a late push for this division. This division still is within range.
Right.
So
you have to look too at they still have to be able to play and win at home, which they can definitely do. They're still going to have matchups within the division that are going to help them later on down the road. And now it looks that the Falcons' offense is clicking more as it should be, and now it's time for the defense to step up, which I think they can do. I think the Falcons can definitely make some noise in this division. I'm still not convinced about Tampa Bay. I'm not willing to count them out yet, but I like what Atlanta is doing a lot more than what Tampa Bay is doing.
Yeah, and they're definitely going to have to win they're definitely going to have to win road games because the rest of the schedule, they have 6 on the road, 4 left at home, and they are 0-2 on the road at this point. One game was close against Philly. One game not quite as close against Pittsburgh. Speaking of Pittsburgh, let's move over into the Bengals-Steelers game, which, even though the score, I understand it's 49 points, didn't feel like it was an up-and-down pace kind of game. Kind of felt like one of those classic Steelers-Bengals matchups. Actually, before I move into that one, tell us how we did on the Buck-Falcon game.
Right, so this is a game where Aaron and I were on the same side of the total. Token actually faded us. Token hitting the over 57 points, getting the 1 point in our contest. Aaron and I both dropped that one under 57.
Zoinks.
Yeah, that was not great. I knew Atlanta was going to be able to score points. For me, I didn't know what Tampa Bay was going to have again with Jameis Winston making his first start of the season. I figured they would come out rustier than they did, and I figured it would be a lot more one-sided than it ended up being.
Fair enough. All right, Steelers-Bengals, 28-21 was the final score. Bengals going down. They are now 4-2. Steelers are, 3-2-1 at this point, heading into their bye week, which is going to be a big bye week for the Steelers because, as we all know, this is when number 26, Le'Veon Bell, is due to report back to Steelers camp.
Yeah, and Connor had a good enough game to keep himself. I don't know that he's in the running for keeping the everyday load, but when Le'Veon Bell comes back, I don't think Connor gets benched. So I think having that two-headed running monster in Pittsburgh is going to make them significantly scarier than I expected them to be at the beginning of the season. I never expected Bell to come back this year, so I'm now worried about what Pittsburgh can do in this division, especially picking up a nice road win today. Cincinnati getting a little bit screwed on the final play there that allowed...
Haven't lost on the road this year.
What's his name? Antonio Brown to get into the end zone. Yeah, and Pittsburgh's played great on the road, but Yeah, I thought I would get more out of Cincinnati today than what I saw.
I think you got good offensive play. I think their defense leaked a little bit.
Yeah, well, and Dalton was pedestrian, 229 for 2 touchdowns, no picks. Rushing game only had 62 yards total.
I had a feeling their rushing game would have some issues, especially Joe Mixon just getting back from that almost a month injury.
Yeah, so this was not moving the ball a ton, and Pittsburgh taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I think when Bell comes back potentially with Pittsburgh, Connor is what Bell wanted. Just somebody to take the ball away from him, a few snaps play, carry the load, overload for him. So,
well, Bell didn't mind getting the 400 touches. He just wanted to be paid like a guy who got 400 touches. Now, I wonder if Connor, kind of cutting into his workload is going to hurt him financially, but we'll see. Connor's already got the endorsement from Roethlisberger that Connor should not be phased out of the offensive playbook or out of the offensive game plan once Bell comes back. Same time, what Bell comes back at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if he's been working out and all that, 6 weeks of missing actual game time.
Everybody's 6 weeks ahead of you.
Yeah. Plus the 4 preseason games, he's probably, his hamstring's got to be tight and all that. It's going to be cause for concern for being more injury prone for sure.
What did Connor go for today? 111 and 2 touchdowns?
Yeah. Average of just shy of 6.
He is the first Pittsburgh running back since 2004 to have 7 touchdowns in 6 games, joining Franco Harris and Bettis. So that's something not even Le'Veon Bell has done up until this point. I'd say even though the Bengals lost, you're right, they looked a little pedestrian. They hung in this game. Going into the fourth, it was 17-14 Pittsburgh, and it became 21-17. I wouldn't put too much negative on Cincinnati. They still look good. They're still going to be a force to reckon with in this division. Losing the game at home does kind of hurt. But I don't know. It'd be interesting. This division is getting more tight again, more of what we expected versus the first couple of weeks where Cincinnati was hot, Baltimore was middle of the road, and Pittsburgh was in a dumpster fire.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. You got pretty much 3 teams fighting for this division at this point. Let's face it, the Browns aren't going to win this division, but they could stir up some of the teams that
they're not a bad team, but they're not a contender. You're right. I get that. Does Bell get traded before Week 8?
I can see that being a possibility for sure. I'm not sure who would take him or what they would have to give up to get him. So
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the issue as to what the price tag is going to be. Obviously the Steelers aren't going to trade him in the AFC North. I'd actually be surprised if they traded him anywhere in the AFC. So that's going to cut down on the number of suitors potentially for
15
this.
15 teams, yeah.
So, we're looking at what is it going to take. Now, we saw the Patriots give up Garoppolo for a second-round pick, and the people of New England were furious, saying that they should have held out. And I've always said no other better offer ever came in. Otherwise, Belichick would have taken it.
Of course.
That's just logic. But, we don't know what kind of offers, if any, have been out there for Bell. I have not heard a peep about a potential trade partner.
That's true. That's a good point.
So I as much as I would like to see it, I think it would be interesting. Plus, I have Connor on fantasy, and I don't want to see him lose touches. I am hesitant to think that this kind of thing would happen for a team that needs to win now, especially I can't imagine Tomlin keeping his job by continuing to win the division and then petering out early in the playoffs.
Yeah, any other franchise, I would say you're probably right. But, look at the loyalty of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Have they not had, 3 coaches in 50 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, some ridiculous low number
you got to look at that combined with, what the Patriots have done over the last 18 years is, in the free agent era, remarkable. So That coupled with the Pittsburgh Steelers' loyalty, I don't disagree with you in most organizations because, I mean, look at Marty Schottenheimer one year, went 14-2, got fired. Malarkey made the playoffs last year with the Titans, got fired. So most franchises, I would agree with you with that. The Steelers, maybe we'll see. Tomlin's still got a couple years on that contract, and it wouldn't shock me if they got fired after losing like a divisional game or a wild card game, but it also wouldn't shock me if Tomlin came back. Let's move on to let's recap those picks. Steelers, Bengals.
Yep, so we had another game where two of us were on the same side, one of us faded, and the one fading actually hit. Well, it wasn't even a true fade.
Yeah, no, you picked the first half bet.
You took a first half over 26, so yours came in. Token and I both had Cincinnati minus the 1.5 for the game. I still think Cincinnati technically won this game. It was just that last play that allowed Antonio Brown to score, where Pittsburgh got away with an absolutely egregious pick play.
The cut block, yeah.
Yeah, about 3 yards off the line of scrimmage that didn't get called. So,
welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, what are you going to do? There were a ton of those this week.
Yeah, let's get into the next one because I'm still steaming from this one because it actually took away some of my profits that I would have used to make a wager on the Sunday night game. So we'll get into it. Chargers-Browns, 38-14 the final score. Let's recap the picks.
Yeah, so this was one where I'm kicking myself for a multitude of reasons. First of all, I, in fantasy, kept Phillip Rivers instead of taking Patrick Mahomes, who was available as a free agent in this league. Token actually took Cleveland money line for this game. Aaron took first half under 23.5. And I actually took the Chargers as my blind bet money line. I wasn't sure how this game was going to end up, so I just said, the Chargers will win, and that's all I was willing to say. And I was able to snag the 2 points on that one.
Yeah, that's kind of what's tilting me at this point. I don't know if you saw this. I know Token saw it because we talked about it off the air, but
I did not. So I'm going to sit this one out.
First half under 23.5 is about 2.5 minutes left. Chargers have the ball, and the Browns, I believe it was like 35. I don't know exactly.
So mid 30-yard line, yeah.
One of the most egregious false starts I have ever seen in my life. You could literally, by the time this guy moved, you could count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. No ref called it. They let the play go. Rivers hits Williams in the end zone for a 35-yard touchdown.
Oh,
yeah.
Crushing my under. I mean, it literally, I watched the replay. It literally was like, he moves. Ball snapped, everyone misses it. So I checked to Twitter to see if anybody else noticed that or anybody else had any issues. People were blasting the NFL. So I'm pretty sure the NFL is going to probably come out with an apology. Their classic Monday morning apology like they always do. Oh, we missed a call. But these are egregious. You have professional referees who get paid an amount of money. And if I can see that all the way from my couch in Las Vegas, that he moved for almost 2 seconds before a play was snapped, that's unacceptable, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. Unfortunately, I was on the Browns on this one, but
missing a holding call, okay, that's not the end of the world. Missing a false start where the guy is moving, he's actually playing football.
Yeah,
before everyone else is. The other 21 guys are still set.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a millisecond or something, I mean, I could understand that being missed, but it was clearly, and I remember listening to this recap on the radio even, and they were talking about it even.
Yeah. And I know it adds to the drama, but I mean, I can't say enough is enough because I'm going to be betting next week too. But it's just like, when is enough at this point?
Yeah.
So anyway, that kind of squashed my first half under. I actually had that as a bet at the window as well. So it hurt me financially, and it hurt me in this in our bets as well because that would have made it fourth down, or actually would have made it 3rd and 20. Who knows what the Chargers do on 3rd and 20? My guess is they don't score a 40-yard touchdown at that point.
They probably just try and go up a couple yards better field goal range and kick the field goal, and the under's good.
All right, so we have Papa Rivers versus Little Rivers, Baker Mayfield. Baker looked okay in this game, nothing too special. Like you said, Rivers looked very pedestrian, but they took advantage of a lot of big drives, big plays, and Melvin Gordon really is what paced this game.
I'm going to assume that you are correct because I didn't actually see any of this, but
Well, Melvin Gordon, 132 yards and 3 touchdowns.
oh yeah, that would do it then. Yeah, so I mean this is the kind of game that I like to see with a little more balance on both the passing and rushing from a team that has to win these kinds of dirty road games. Phillip Rivers, not all that great. 11 for 20, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Which, obviously is not great, but Gordon, not only the 132 on the ground, but he also had help from Eckler and Allen, who both put up over 100 yards total. And then in the air, Tyrell Williams, 3 receptions for 118 yards, Keenan Allen, 4 for 62. So a lot of guys putting up big video game type numbers for Los Angeles. It's so fucking weird for me to say Los Angeles Chargers. Still not used to this yet.
The Clippers.
So here I'm actually shocked ESPN decided to comment on this, but I'll read you verbatim what they said in the recap of the game. Los Angeles may have caught a break on Rivers' second touchdown pass to Williams. Left tackle Russell Okung clearly dropped back before the ball snapped. Defensive end Myles Garrett, along with 4 or 5 other Browns defenders, stopped completely in their tracks, assuming the play would be whistled dead. Several other players ran half-assed while Rivers lofted a scoring pass to Williams, who was wide open in the end zone.
Yeah, and I think they bring up a good point there of the Cleveland players either stopping or running half-assed. I mean, you learn this in Little League and Pop Warner, and as a kid, you play until the whistle blows. So for a team to assume that a whistle is going to be blown because of a penalty and then get burned for a 35-yard touchdown,
discipline.
I hate to say it, they got to have that discipline to know that you play until the whistle blows. They got to have the discipline to know that you can't just stand there and assume that things are going to go your way. And then when the call doesn't go your way, to sit there and complain about it. You have to be able to play through the entire game.
Sure, and I mean, looking at the final outcome of the score, that wasn't a factor. But in betting, that's where I have the problem. I mean, I have a wager on under 23.5, and I understand Cleveland kicked another field goal at the end, but I have a hard time believing Chargers at 3rd and 20 at that point were going to attack the end zone again. Probably something to set them up on a field goal. Point being is that you're right. I mean, Cleveland should have played, but even they probably saw what I saw, that who was the tackle? Russell Okung. It was so egregious. So egregious. He was so early on the snap. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I have to go back and watch play. It wouldn't shock me if some of the Chargers players were probably like, yeah, we're getting dinged for this one.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's go back into the game. Mayfield kind of came up limp in the third quarter, had a little bit of an issue. I don't know if that's going to linger. But we talked about Mayfield. Played average ball, nothing too crazy. What did he throw for, 205 yards, something like that?
238.
238. So nothing too terrible. Browns played, 5 tight games. It seemed like, a shot. LA's a good team. 2-1 on the road right now. They used to be a team that would make these games more competitive than they needed to be, like you were saying with the Chargers. It seemed this year that the Bills, the Browns, they're taking these games and they're just putting them away early, especially with the way Melvin Gordon's been playing this year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about this. The thing that got me is usually the Chargers, when they go east of the Mississippi, don't usually play that well, but maybe this is a new Chargers team, so.
It does seem like a little bit of a turnaround, in my opinion, in there.
I mean, is it a new Chargers team, or is it the same old Browns team?
Partially both, I would say. I mean, I would say more of a new Chargers team, maybe because they're in LA or something.
I mean, what do you think it is in Cleveland, though? Because it's like, I mean...
lead in the water or something.
I mean,
like
Baker's
that.
under 50% passing. Doesn't really have the ability... Is it the play calling? Because they got a new play caller this year in Todd Haley. I mean, the defense... They're not great. They're not bad, but the rushing game, 100 yards on the ground. They got all 3 of their backs kind of into it, mostly Carlos Hyde. But, I mean, Jarvis Landry, 2 catches for 11 yards. Antonio Callaway, 2 catches for 9 yards. Those are your big guys on the outside. So 4 catches for a combined 20 yards is not
going to do it.
Not going to do it. So, anyways, did we already talk about our picks on that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Seahawks and the Raiders. The Raiders are now 1-5 after a 27-3 loss. And something I wish I would have known before I made my pick this weekend, that the Raiders did not show up in London until Friday night. Seahawks showed up on Tuesday. I think that contributed a lot to the Seahawks being able to pull away in this game. Or maybe I'm wrong. The Raiders may just be that big of a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that I've been describing the Raiders all year is that winning is not a priority. I think this is John Gruden kind of getting a feel for what he has, feel for the landscape of the team, and trying to figure out what he can do in this division. And right now, it's just, they go out there, they run the plays. I don't think they're running plays based on the game. I think they're trying to see what the abilities are of the players they have.
16-game training camp?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Hey, let's face it, Gruden's got a 140-year contract, so he can take his time and build this team
It's
any
only
way he
130
wants.
years, dude.
Oh,
Calm
sorry,
down.
yeah.
Don't exaggerate. It's only 130 years.
I know. I should never speak in hyperboles. So, but yeah, I think this is a game where Oakland, or even a full season where Oakland's going through the paces, earning the paychecks, seeing what they have, and building for 2 to 5 years down the road.
Yeah, that sucked to see Amari Cooper go out. He got drilled. I don't know exactly what the extent of his injury is going to be at this point, but he didn't wake up for a while. It was good to see Doug Baldwin out there running routes, catching passes. He had 6 catches for 91 yards. Tyler Lockett, another guy I've been high on. As far as he had 5 targets, 3 catches, 13 yards, but he did have a very, very pivotal touchdown early in the second quarter. Any thoughts on these two guys, Baldwin and Lockett, pacing the offense? It's with Baldwin out, it's been Lockett trying to do as much as he can. Because, look at the rest. We've got Brandon Marshall, Jaron Brown, and David Moore. Not much to really get excited about. But Doug Baldwin, a clear-cut number 1 coming back. That's got to be big for Russell Wilson.
Absolutely. He's got somebody to lean on at this point of time. And at 3-3, they might have a shot to...
I said they'd make the playoffs before or they'd be in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I
also said that if they go 6-10 or 7-9, Carroll could get fired. So
yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see them the rest of the season. Hopefully, 2 weeks from now, the Lions come out ahead against them. So
yeah, we definitely had something. I know, Spike, you like to see even in running back by committees. We had 29 carries by Carson, Penny, and Davis for, I'm not going to do exact math here, but it's like 120 yards. That's not one guy getting it, but that's a pretty solid effort from a backfield, and it's something that you look for, the balance on offense. Russell Wilson doesn't have to do too much.
For sure, and I think this is especially beneficial for a guy like Russell Wilson. Even though he has turned into more of a pocket passer in years, he did come up known for being able to make plays with his legs. He just has always seemed to me like the smallest guy that had that kind of, I don't want to say stigma, but had that...
confidence almost.
Yeah, had that scouting report on him where he was able to scramble around. Because those types of quarterbacks generally don't last. They'll, on one of those runs, they typically get hurt, and it's just a matter of the extent of the injury and not if they are going to get hurt.
It kind of makes you wonder if, with the rules that are in place now, we saw it tonight when the guy let go of Brady, or last night, I guess.
Yeah.
Would guys like RG3, Colin Kaepernick, help me out with another couple of guys?
Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow still couldn't throw the ball, but I'll throw Tim Tebow in there. Deshaun Watson's already playing. I'm saying, guys that are out of the league because of them getting killed by being a running quarterback, eventually, like you said, you do take that shot that changes you.
Right, and then, those quarterbacks either have to adapt or die. They either have to become the pocket passer or they become a third-string quarterback on a mediocre team. Mm-hmm. The thing about Seattle, and I don't want to get too into the weeds here and kind of recap the draft, but I still say drafting Rashard Penny by by Seattle was a gigantic mistake, especially knowing A, how terrible the offensive line was, and B, how decimated the defense was after basically everybody from the Legion of Boom left. We've seen that the defense is actually holding up all right, but Russell Wilson's still been sacked 19 times this season, good for 6th in the league. So was drafting a running back when you have Carson and Davis and a mobile Russell Wilson back there the wisest move? I'm still not convinced that it was. So, yes, you're right. Being able to have that running back by committee, being able to get the ball to different weapons on offense is certainly important, but it's more important to keep a good quarterback upright and a good quarterback healthy because they are so few and far between in this league that protecting them has to be the priority.
Well, let's take a look at what was around the time Rashad Penny left. First round, 27th pick. Calvin Ridley had just gone.
Sony Michel was available.
Sony Michel was. Not saying that. I mean, Sony Michel in that same offense may not be as effective.
Maybe.
In this offense, he seems effective in New England. So let's look at the offensive linemen. They had Austin Corbett, a lineman out of Nevada, go first pick, second round. Hasn't really contributed to Cleveland yet. Will Hernandez to the Giants has looked very mundane, as well as that whole line. And then realistically, as far as prospects, the next offensive lineman taken is not until Brian O'Neill for the Vikings, the 62nd pick in the draft. So it seemed like maybe, with McGlinchey going, with who was the other guy out of Notre Dame that was a tackle that went early too? Quentin Nelson and Colton Miller, there was such a talent discrepancy. I mean, Isaiah Wynn was another one. He's out for the year. We don't know. They could have traded up and gotten him ahead of New England, but New England traded up to get him. It seemed like after those first 4 offensive linemen, that 28th pick where they sat, or 27th pick, there wasn't anything there. Now, could they have addressed the defense? Maybe. Terrell Edmonds from Pittsburgh's been okay. Mike Hughes in Minnesota's been pretty decent. I'm not saying it's the worst pick. Right now, it doesn't look great. He's on a rookie deal. Chris Carson's definitely not the answer, but he does run pretty well, and Mike Davis isn't the answer. Right now on paper, Rashad Penny looks like a terrible pick. I will agree with you on that.
Yes.
But I would tend to give draft picks 2 to 3 years at that spot. A couple of centers. It all depends on really what you felt they needed because they traded for Brown. They're going to improve their line a little bit here year to year. And I think at the beginning of the year, they really said, we need Russell Wilson to be a fucking unicorn. And they realized, well, we can't really ask him that because as good as he is, he's not. Nobody's that. Even Brady, with no semblance of an offensive line or weapons, can do what he did. And I understand we can have that conversation, but they still have weapons.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, it's just knowing all of the needs around this team, and that running back wasn't one of them.
I would say it was, but it probably wasn't of top priority.
I don't know.
It wasn't the top priority. I'll agree with you on that. It was a head scratcher to everybody, even when they made the pick. It wasn't a top priority, but I don't know if there was anybody in that 27, 28 spot on the offensive line that was worth that pick. The question is, though, they traded up to get Penny. That's what makes it even more of a head scratcher. So before we move on, I actually want to talk about, you talked about John Gruden and his million-year contract, and he's going to be the face of the Vegas Raiders, right? I mean, we agree with that.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
So the question I have is David Carr. Is David Carr safe? No. I'm sorry, Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Damn it. Excuse me. David Carr's long gone, but is Derek Carr safe? Is Derek Carr? I'll tell you. We'll make a prediction because I anticipate this podcast being. Will Derek Carr be the starting quarterback week 1 when they play? Was that 2020?
It's 2020 is expected.
Will he be the starting quarterback week 1?
So they would have the two drafts. They would have the 2019 and 2020 draft to see if they feel that there is a franchise quarterback in those drafts that they can get. Because I don't,
even signing one.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm not.
It doesn't. Franchise quarterbacks don't move often. I mean, Kirk Cousins is an anomaly,
right? And that's kind of what my thought was. When you are putting a new team or a team into a new city, it's very hard to do that with an established quarterback that isn't great. You know what I mean? If if Carr was winning, 10-plus games every year since he's been in the league, if this was a team that had been in the playoffs every year, they probably wouldn't be moving in the first place. But if they were moving, then this is the kind of thing that you would assume that the team would be able to take that quarterback and market them well. Carr's not that guy. I can't imagine that he is going to be that guy when they come to Las Vegas. And I am hopeful that they are able to get somebody in the draft, because then they can say this is the heir apparent, this is the second coming, this is this, that, and the other thing, and build a marketing plan around that.
To answer your question, I do not think Carr is going to be the starting quarterback when they do come to Vegas.
That's it? That's just straight
Yeah, I mean, I think they look elsewhere, whether it's a free agent or whether it's something that comes available in the draft. Whether Gruden likes it or the city of Las Vegas likes it, I guess.
Well, see, this is the thing. When they come here, and it goes from the Oakland Raiders to the Las Vegas Raiders, it is John Gruden and his quarterback. And those two are going to be tied. And those two are going to be linked in the media, and they're going to be linked on press day, and this, that, and the other thing. So if it's not a good quarterback, a good established quarterback, then it has to be a rookie. Because the media and the fans will be willing to give a rookie a lot more rope and allow him to grow into that position, rather than if they come in with Carr and Carr stinks and he still stinks when he comes to Vegas, then Gruden is going to be, it's Gruden and Carr stinks, therefore Gruden stinks for keeping Carr. And I don't think that's the kind of reputation that Gruden wants to bring with him to Vegas.
So I'm looking at potential 2020 free agents at that point. And you have your names at the top, which are a little unrealistic. Drew Brees will be 41 at that point. Not happening.
Nah.
Ben Roethlisberger will be 39 at that point.
Nah.
Probably not happening.
God, can you imagine Roethlisberger in Vegas? Oof.
Bring back Bettis, too.
But some names that may make sense, and one of the names is already on that roster, and that's A.J. McCarron. A guy I already was kind of high on in Buffalo, but clearly couldn't make the team there, or they had no intention of really competing this season. A.J. McCarron's one. Nick Foles, be 31 years old, will be a free agent.
That'd be interesting.
Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston will both be free agents after this year. They could be guys who are looking for a home, who could be signed for cheap and then overtake Carr.
Well, that's assuming Mariota is still upright at that point, given what we saw today.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
The only other name that probably won't make sense, because if he's not re-signed by his team, it probably is it for him, is Case Keenum. But those are the guys who around 2020 should be free agents. And like we're saying, I don't know if Derek Carr is the answer, especially coming to Vegas. Like you said, John Gruden's got this million-year contract, and he theoretically at this point is auditioning in 2018.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, that he wants to see what he gets, and Carr ain't giving it to him right now. Or maybe he is. Maybe he's showing Gruden exactly what he wants to see, and Gruden's still willing to lose in order to build the team around Carr for the future.
That's his little puppet right now. Dance for me, puppet.
All right, how are we on these?
Aaron and I, once again, were on the same side of this, taking Oakland plus the 2.5 and bombing that one. Token not only had Seattle minus the 2.5, he had it as his lock of the week for a bonus of 3 points.
Wow, nice. Well played, Token.
Well, bam!
Yeah.
However, we'll go to the Bears-Dolphins game, which created a bit of a conundrum in the Vegas Squares world.
I'm happy with losing that pick.
31 Dolphins, 28 Bears in a game that, especially with no Ryan Tannehill, I can't imagine a lot of people saw this one coming.
Well, this is one of the things that baffled me, because I turned it. I will say that on Sunday morning, when the game started at 10 a.m., I woke up sometime around 11:45. So I didn't get to see much of the early game. When I did finally turn on the Red Zone channel and I saw what Brock Osweiler was doing, one of the guys, or whoever the host of the Red Zone channel was saying that there was a quarterback controversy brewing in Miami. And then I actually went back and watched the highlights, and it looked like Osweiler was hitting receivers for 5 yards, and they were running 60 yards into the end zone. And I know that Albert Wilson did that twice.
Yes, 6 for 155 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, so that to me doesn't spell great quarterback. That to me spells great receiver. And
but that's a lot of the NFL nowadays.
I know, but to give Osweiler the credit and say that there's a quarterback controversy brewing in Miami, I just that to me smells funny. I think the key to this game was in the overtime where Chicago was driving after the Miami fumble, and they were lining up and they were driving and they were just about to get into field goal range. And then they did 3 super conservative, super boring, super predictable running plays that went nowhere and had to settle for that 56-yard attempt in overtime.
Something along those lines.
Just stupid, chicken shit play calling from the offensive staff in Chicago. This loss is squarely on their shoulders. There's no excuse for running a game like that.
So I may have gotten my prediction wrong in my bold predictions with Kenyon Drake, but I got the fact that they would pace the game with a running back. Frank Gore, the ageless wonder, 15 carries, 101 yards, and an 18-yard catch that set up a touchdown. I believe I said Drake would have 120. Frank Gore paced him with 118, actually 119. And Drake had 90 yards himself, not bad. Almost got in the end zone, but he did have a costly fumble at the end of the game that actually sent this game into it was already in overtime, but it sent this game into the Bears driving down the field and taking that 50-something yard field goal as well. So I won't toot my horn, but I will say that the game plan that I thought that they would employ is exactly what they did, especially with having a backup quarterback.
Yeah, Miami in this game needed to do what they did, and they just keep the ball going forward and move the chains. And instead of doing that, they just got in the end zone against a good Bears defense and beat them because of that.
Makes me feel bad. I've been high on the Bears defense in fantasy this week. They got me -1. That hurt my heart. That hurt my heart a little bit.
Yeah,
and they're not going to look any better next week against New England either.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Chicago's back down to earth now. I mean, I think they still have a good defense, and
I just think
it'll come down to those division matchups.
I think Miami at home is tough, no matter who they put at quarterback, and you want to call them frauds, and that may be so. And the season may play out, but like you said, while it's still warm and humid in there, they have a distinct advantage against teams.
Yeah, and part of the reason that I picked against them this week was because I didn't think it would be as warm and humid as it was, and it still ended up being over 100 degrees, and you're right, that's a massive weapon, and they're going to use that to their advantage and win all the home games while it's that hot in that area.
And Chicago definitely needed a win today, or Sunday, but they didn't get it. Now they've got New England next Sunday, so in Chicago, so that'll be a tough one. Dolphins go to Detroit, go against your boys. Actually, they're going to come home. Who do you like in that one early?
Give me some lion meat. I'm hungry.
So does that mean they lose?
I don't know who he's picking.
I think it ends in a tie.
Give me some lion meat. Good Lord.
Bold prediction for next week. It ends in a tie.
Can you imagine if they had that in sports betting, like Baccarat?
They may still start having that with the 10-minute overtimes. Will any game end in a tie? Or they may. I know they have three-way betting.
Towards the end of
60 minutes, though. Yeah, 60-minute three-way betting, where you have, who will win. Let's just say Seahawks, Raiders, or at the end of the regulation, it'd be a tie.
Yeah,
they have that,
and they have it in hockey as well.
Yeah, it started in hockey. Yeah. So, recap the picks for us on this one.
So this one, Token actually went and skewed the line to Chicago -6.5. Before the game started, saying he would take +3 if they won, -2 if they lost, so 2 points down on that one. Aaron, you were texting me and saying
Should have woken up.
yeah, once you realized that it was going to be Osweiler instead of Tannehill, you wanted Chicago money line. It actually got bet to Chicago minus the 6, and you said, "Well, screw it, I'm already on Miami plus 3.5 or whatever it was, so give me Miami plus the 6," and that's what you ended up keeping. So you got the point on that one. Chicago minus 3.5 was my lock of the week. So
Yikes.
that's.
I'm surprised with that being your lock of the week, you let me still have the Dolphins on that one. I feel like with that one, you losing 3 points, you'd have been like, no justice.
No, and it was at the point where I woke up so late that I hadn't checked the scores. I didn't know what was going on. And when you first said Chicago money line, and then you said screw it, I'm going to roll with the Miami Dogs, and I let you keep it.
Fair enough. Well, I appreciate that because based on we'll get there, but I'll need every point I can get. Let's move to Cardinals and the Vikings. And basically what the Vikings is every week is Adam Thielen for 150 yards, a touchdown, and 14 catches. That seems to be his calling card. But nevertheless, another game where the Vikings are clearly a more superior team. But the question is are the Cardinals as bad as we think they are, or are the Vikings just not as good as we think they are? Because at home, I mean, we saw the Bills debacle, and now we see a game where, yes, they did win by 10, they pushed on the spread, but they should have beaten this team better than that.
Yeah, and, well, I think it was strength against strength in this game. It was Minnesota's offense, where they were able to move the ball a little bit. Cousins had 233 through the air. Murray had 155 on the ground. So they were able to get the ball going. But Arizona's defense is the one shining star of this team. So they were able to keep the score within reach all game. It's just they don't have, Rosen. As of right now, it's still obviously too early to tell. He doesn't look like the answer to me. I still don't think they're using David Johnson properly out of the backfield or on the ground game.
What's appropriate? Because, I mean, he did have 23 looks in this game.
Right, but 23 looks, and he only had 70 yards on those 23 looks.
No, that's a product more of an inferior offensive line.
Well, yeah.
Just because he gets 30 looks doesn't mean he's auto-graded 150 yards.
No, I understand that, but in the running game, he had 18 carries, Edmonds had 1, Coleman had 1.
Yeah, he is the running game.
Yeah, no, so they need to figure out other ways to get him involved that doesn't mean him being the only option out there. It's just, to me, it's not a balanced offensive attack, and this is going to come back and hurt them. But at the same time, it could be that they're either protecting Johnson or they're protecting Rosen. They don't want to give him too many looks. They don't want to give him too wide of a playbook just yet.
Before we go over to Minnesota's stats, I would like to toot Christian Kirk, 6 catches, 77 yards. I think that guy is going to replace Larry Fitzgerald as a top-flight receiver in Arizona. I think I've been saying that all year. But Latavius Murray, man, 155 yards on the ground and a touchdown. I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming, especially, like you said, strength against strength, Cardinals defense. He got a heavy dose of carries, especially with Dalvin Cook. I mean, good Lord, is this guy ever going to play? He was healthy all week, and he's still inactive.
Yeah, I don't see him coming back playing dominantly like he was towards the time of his injury last year. I mean, I just don't see that anymore, especially how Murray is running the ball. I think if he comes back, he sees a few snaps, but minimal, I think. I think they want to keep him healthy and see maybe what he does week by week.
And you got Adam Thielen, 15 targets, 11 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown. It's just
clockwork.
like clockwork with this guy, dude. But
I think Minnesota's kind of a streaky team. They're either really hit or miss, and this week they were kind of blah, but Arizona didn't look great, so I think Arizona looked all right, but we'll see what happens.
Well, they're definitely in a building mode, and their defense, like Spike said, is going to keep them in games better than, well, the team's talent will. Saying Josh Rosen's not the answer, I mean, that's pretty premature, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I even
21 of 31, 240 is not terrible.
No, it's not terrible, but
0 of 12 on third and fourth down is.
This is a team that thus far has put up 82 points all season. They're only giving up 139, but putting up 82 is, let's see, are they last in the league? No, they are ahead of the Bills. But they are not good. So, I hope Rosen comes around, because I think one of the things I said last week or the week before during a bold prediction was that I wanted to see young quarterbacks do well. I want to see them succeed, and I want to see them be able to move the ball. I hope Rosen becomes that guy. What I'm seeing right now, he's not it, but, he has
a little potential.
Yeah, no, potential's fine. I just need to see him live up to that potential.
Yeah, the Cardinals got the Broncos this Thursday night in Arizona. That might be a tough game to watch, especially since the Broncos aren't that good on the road and the Cardinals aren't that good in general. At 1-5. The Vikings will go on the road to play the Jets, who will play the third of 3 straight home games. They are 2-0 in those games. Before we preview the Colts-Jets, let's recap the picks from Vikings-Cardinals.
So, Aaron and I were both on Minnesota -10. Aaron actually taking it as his lock of the week, and that was obviously a push. Tony went under the total, which was 44. Also a push. None of us made any points on this game, although I kind of feel
nothing
like
burger.
I feel like Aaron should lose points on this because it was
I feel like you should fuck off a minute.
It was a lock of the week, meaning you were so goddamn sure that you were willing to risk 3 points, and you didn't win.
But I didn't lose.
No, but you didn't win, so I feel like on a lock of the week, pushing a lock of the week, I feel like should be a loss.
No, I don't.
I'm okay doing that going forward, but we have to set rules. We have to set clear boundaries.
Well, this is the first time it's happened. So.
I think a push should be a push, though. If you take it to the window, you push, you get your money back.
All right.
Yeah, if you take it to the window and bet $10, you take it to the window and bet $100,000, you still get a push. So
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm willing to implement that, but going forward, not
I agree.
not
with,
hindsight.
I agree with keeping it the same. It's a push.
You have the tying vote,
neither
Mr.
win
Vice
or
President.
lose. So
Yeah, no, we'll keep it as a push as a push.
All right. Colts, Jets.
I was just trying to snag an extra point
Yeah,
away from you.
fair enough.
Douche. Colts, Jets, 42-34. Jets victory gets them to 3-3. They are 2-1 at home. Colts at 1-5. As much as I've hyped them up, I still think they're the best 1-5 team I've seen in a while, but I believe that their chances of really getting back into divisional play are probably over at this point. Anyways, 42-33. Jets pretty much controlled this game. Andrew Luck, another good game, 301, 4 touchdowns. He was throwing the whole game, so you take that for what you will. Sam Darnold, another game, looked pretty good, 280, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 24 of 30 passing.
Yeah, and prior to the Sunday night game, Luck actually moved into first place in the league in touchdowns thrown with 16. So, more power to him on that, but they got to win games.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is not... I don't know what's going on in Indianapolis because, we talked about this during our preview show. They have a mediocre defense, which was better than expected. They have what people claim as a fully healthy Andrew Luck, and 301 yards and 43 attempts and 23 complete. These are...
I'd say he's perfectly healthy. It's just the team around him's not
These are good numbers, but, I mean, they have to do better than this, especially in the South, which should have been locked up by now, but very clearly isn't, where all other teams are sitting at 3-3. This is a division that should be easily winnable. Well, not easily, but it should be winnable for any of these teams, including the Colts, and they got to get their act together if they want to be part of this thing.
I don't think they're out of the division race as of right now, but it's worrisome when you're not going to win games. I mean, they're putting up points, which you need to do to win games, and they need the defense to step it up and make some key stops. That's for sure. I don't see them making that big push, but I see them developing a lot more and focusing towards the future.
Well, they do have a 2-game stretch where they should get back into a little bit of contention. They go they go home to the Bills and then at the Raiders. But I'm going to do a quick hit. I'll go with you, Token. Just next couple of games after that. So Bills Raiders, I'm going to give them 2-0, makes them 3-5 in the AFC South.
think that could be a fair statement. I don't see them losing both. I don't see them...
Okay, I gave them the wins. We're going to go forward.
Yeah.
Home versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Probably a loss.
Home versus the Titans.
Close game. Titans barely win.
Home versus the Dolphins.
Loss.
At Jaguars.
Loss.
At Texans.
Loss, probably.
They're 3-10 right there.
Yeah.
So that's not. They're 3-10, 4-9 at best. So I'm going to rule, as much as I'm rooting for the Colts, I'm going to rule them out of division contention at this point. Not really much to take away from this. Two teams that they're okay. Marlon Mack came back, had 12 carries for 89 yards. Maybe that sparks Andrew Luck a little bit, and maybe that sparks the offense because they definitely didn't have a running game before that.
No, and this is hopefully, I don't know, maybe they're getting on the right track. Maybe Luck is going to be what we expect him to be. The more I look at this team and the more I think about it, I'm starting to be glad that they're losing because fuck these guys for starting Deflategate. So, let's see him go 1-15 for the season. And
can I at least go 3-13 so I can win my 14 last bet?
Sure, there you go. All right, and I think 13's fine.
How much does T.Y. Hilton not being in the lineup really affect this? Because, he still threw for 300 yards. He still spread the ball out. 23 receptions to 10 different receivers, 4 touchdowns. Does T.Y. Hilton make that much of a difference? 8 points? Does he matter?
I think he does matter. I think he opens up a little more passing. I don't know.
Yeah, stretching the field's definitely a big thing, which they don't have right now.
If he was on the field, I still think the Jets win this, but it is marginally a lot closer of a game.
Closer than 8. You never know. Like I said, Colts get Buffalo next Sunday. The Jets get Minnesota next Sunday. So I got some interesting matchups going forward for both of those teams. Did we discuss what we had on that one?
We have not yet, and it was...
Battle around?
Token...
I know I had Colts money line. So.
Token hit it. He had over 47.5, so he can thank the Jets for basically doing that on their own. You had Indy money line. I had Indy plus the 2.5, and Aaron is choking the same way that Indianapolis choked in this game. So, yes, Aaron and I both lost a point on that one. And if you're keeping track at home, that means that thus far the only bet I have hit is the Chargers.
He says that with disdain on his face and a sour taste in his mouth.
You didn't lose them all. Besides that, you did have one push.
You pushed Minnesota.
I did push Minnesota.
It's the little things. Man, I'm dying. You're right. Panthers, Redskins.
I would never get that lucky.
Fuck you. Panthers, Redskins. A game that really wasn't as close as the score indicated. The Panthers did a little bit of damage control coming back. Made it a little bit of a game. But 23-17.
Yeah, this wasn't a game that I watched at all, but just looking at the stat lines, Alex Smith, really pedestrian, 21 of 36 for 163 and 2 touchdowns. Just not seeming to be a great game. Adrian Peterson with 97 yards on 17 carries. That looks like it was pretty impressive, but otherwise they had nothing for a running game there. But when the leading receiver is Vernon Davis at 48 yards, that to me doesn't scream like they had a great game, but somehow they managed to find a win.
They're pretty good at home, I'll tell you that. They are, 2-1 at home. When they win pretty convincingly.
Yes, bouncing back after that horrible defeat against the Saints last Monday, being on that shorter week, I think gave them a lot more of a boost to play for looking at this game. I think Peterson just kind of opened up that passing a little and let them come out a little ahead. So,
yeah, getting out to a 14-0 first quarter lead obviously always creates... That always kind of creates a conundrum with old school offenses. They almost get into that prevent offense mode. It's like, you're up 17-0 in the second quarter. It's not over, dude. You can't really do that. And I have a problem seeing sometimes where they do that. You give, Adrian Peterson the ball 17 times and really I mean, but the thing is Alex Smith still threw the ball 36 times. So
Yeah.
it just felt like a very mundane game for them, and I think that may be Washington's MO. They just aren't going to win pretty games.
Yeah. I'm used to seeing teams up 3 scores and then just kind of coast along and then blow it, a.k.a. the Lions. So.
Well, Josh Norman had an interception this game, which ironically was against Newton, and the Panthers, who traded him away. 19 games on interception. I mean, I know that interceptions aren't everything for the cornerbacks in the NFL, but that had to feel good for him, especially since he did it against the Carolina Panthers. Okay.
Am I supposed to talk? I don't know.
Anybody? That was just really a general statement.
Yeah, no, sure. That sounded good.
Okay.
I'm going to go with what you said.
Really not a lot going on in this game, so I don't fault you guys for really having a lot of opinion. But recap the picks.
So we actually all had a different take on this one. Token decided to take Washington money line, which was obviously good. You, Aaron, had Washington first half, and that was at a pick'em, which you managed to get the point on that one. I took Carolina and what I assumed to be a rested defense minus the 1 point, and that was not the wisest bet.
No, it was not. And we'll move on to another one where you two hit, and I did not get the chance to text because I really thought the Texans would have a better game than this.
Wait, I got a point?
You did get a point. The thing that's pissed me off is the Bills kept this game close virtually all of the game, with the exception of that last-second field goal in the second half that pushed the Texans to 10-0 and didn't let me cover my first half 6.5 bet.
Yeah, you did have the first half Buffalo plus the 6.5. Token and I both had Buffalo plus the 10. And I will say what I said when we were previewing this game. What has Houston done to earn being a 10-point favorite over anybody? And let's face it, even with the 7-point final margin of victory, it shouldn't have been that because it was Nathan goddamn Peterman throwing a pick 6 that ruined the game for
You're
Buffalo.
right, it was. Yeah. Josh Allen, I actually saw the play. He got hurt. I was watching the Red Zone channel, and it looked like he almost sprained his wrist or broke his wrist, and then they said it was a shoulder injury. So it'd be interesting to see what exactly becomes of that, because God forbid if we have to sit there through Nathan Peterman in an actual NFL game anymore in our lives. Cyanide looks tasty.
Right, and I mean, it's a good way to shut up Buffalo fans, which is always a bonus for me. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not good for the NFL to have a guy that inept at a quarterback position in this league. But from the quarterback position, between Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, and Nathan Peterman, they put up a combined 322 yards today. Or Sunday. If I went back through and looked at the number of...
I'm looking at 271. Math?
Yeah, well, hang on. Let's see. It's 84.
It's a strong suit.
84 plus 61 plus 177.
That's 272.
Plus
177?
177. It's 322.
What?
Oh.
177.
Uh-huh.
What am I looking at then?
I have no idea.
Oh, I see. Never mind. Okay, I got it. Yeah, you're right. They have.
I know I'm right because I'm using a fucking
Well,
calculator.
ESPN's wrong. They have the Buffalo passing at 129 yards, which actually is 145. So you're right.
So unless they are taking negative yards,
I guess they're
from the
taking sacks.
interception.
I guess they're taking sacks.
Oh, yeah, okay. So yeah,
Let's say because they're showing Houston at 142 yards passing when
Yeah.
Deshaun actually had 177. So they're taking sacks into account.
but anyway, 300.
Sacks lose passing yards? That's weird.
I thought it was
322
Russia.
yards. Yeah, it's just, this was not a great game. And again, I don't understand why Houston was a 10-point favorite in this game. This is one of the most baffling lines I have seen come out of Vegas in a long, long time.
Yeah, I think even if the Texans play the Raiders, they shouldn't even be a 10-point favorite.
Well, who's better, the Bills or the Raiders?
Bills, at this point.
Well, record-wise, yes, but
Well, no, as a team right now, if you count in...
Well, not with Peterman. as
Well,
a
I was about to
quarterback.
say, pre-Peterman coming in.
Pre-Peterman. I don't know. It just sounds nasty. All right. Well, we probably spent way too much time on that game than anyone wanted to hear. So let's move on to L.A. and Denver, which is a game that ended up being close. I thought L.A. paced it. Todd Gurley, another big day. 208 yards on the ground. The recipe called for snow. I thought it would snow during the game. It snowed before the game. They were able to get the snow off the field. Broncos still covered the 7 points, 23-20. Recap the picks.
Yeah, and this was a game that, another one where Token and I were on the same side, taking the Rams.
I believe the direct quote was, "Rams and a laugher, I'm done with this."
Yeah, I believe that's exactly what I said. And that's what it should have been, but for some reason the Broncos kept kicking around, which was annoying as shit. But you did, Aaron, have Denver plus the 7 on that one, so you were the only one to get a point.
And I believe the direct quote on that one was, "I have no analysis, it just seems like the smart move."
Yeah.
So Case Keenum, 322 and 2 touchdowns. I wish Tony Johnson was here because he hates that guy.
Oh, he really does.
Yeah.
That's probably all he's good for, though. He's good. This offense just isn't dynamic enough, and I understand it's the Rams. Let's take this with a grain of salt. But 2-4, they are 2-2 at home, which is a place. The 2 games they've lost at home are to L.A. and Kansas City, a combined 11-1. I give this team more credit, but in the AFC West at 2-4, I think with their down games to they're down games to LA and Kansas City, I think they got to be done in the spot.
Right, and yeah, this is a division that is so top heavy that 2-4 finishing the season 8-8, even 9-7 is not going to be near good enough.
No. Manny Sanders, 7 catches, 115 yards and a touchdown, bright spot for the Denver receiving corps. Demaryius Thomas, although he had a touchdown, he's just not the receiver he used to be with Peyton Manning. Is that just because he was such a product of Peyton Manning? I always thought Demaryius was a pretty decent receiver.
Always seemed to be, but we know that Manning likes to make the receivers around him look better, and that's just the product of being a great quarterback, is that you're able to make those guys look better. I don't know. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's a nagging injury thing. But you're right. He's not the guy that he used to be. And I'm with you. I'm curious as to why that is.
I feel like if Denver had a little bit of a rushing game, they could have paced the attack a little bit more. 17 carries, 60 yards. All 3 of the guys, Freeman, Lindsey, and Booker, just had nothing going on the ground.
Yeah, they got stuffed right off the handoff, barely even breaking scrimmage, if that sometimes.
Well, let's look at the Rams. I mean, they're 6-0. They've got we looked at them before in one of the last episodes last week, but they got at the 49ers next week. They got a home game against the Packers. They got at Saints and versus Seahawks, and then versus Chiefs. I mean, they could be 10-0 going into that Chiefs game, and the Chiefs could be 9-1 at that point. That could set up a pretty fun matchup.
That game. I think even regardless of record, that's going to be a really fun game to watch, just based on 2 young quarterbacks, 2 really smart coaches, good running game, good offensive weapons on both sides. That's going to be a hell of a game to watch.
Any chance they get tripped up before then? At 49ers, home versus Packers. At Saints, home versus Seahawks.
Maybe at the Saints.
I was going to say the Saints does sound like the kind of game where if it's a total shootout and, Jared Goff, for as good as he is, they're relying more on Gurley than they are on Goff right now, and I don't know that that's the way to beat the Saints, because you can control the clock as much as you want, but if it takes Drew Brees 15 seconds to drop back and throw an 80-yard bomb for a touchdown, controlling the clock's not going to fucking matter.
Fair.
So,
all right.
I don't know. I'm curious to see how that one turns out, but...
Token, let's give Spike let's throw him a bone.
Yeah.
At the Saints and versus the Chiefs, we'll give you, for 2 points, 1 point each, if you can correctly predict the opening total within 1.5 points either way of those games.
Oh my God.
Let's write these totals down now. Actually, write them down in your spreadsheet.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to.
You got to do it now, though. You got 2 minutes.
All right. So we've got. You said at the Saints?
At Saints, and then 2 weeks later versus the Chiefs.
At the Saints, total line.
Opening line.
I'll call that.
Covers opening line.
57.5.
Okay. At the Saints, 57.5. You get a point either way, so a point and a half either way, so 59 all the way down to 56. 6, yeah.
And then Chiefs, I'm going to go 58.5.
So you get 60 and you get, 57?
57.
So you get 57 to 60. So, all right, for 1 point each, we'll give it to him. He needs some help.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Jags-Cowboys. Anybody see this one coming?
No, I didn't.
Well, it's kind of weird because ever since the Jaguars won the Super Bowl, they're 1-3, and they're really not putting up points. Wait, the Jaguars did win the Super Bowl, right? Because after they beat the Patriots, they were,
that game in Jacksonville.
they were cheering and shouting and thanking God and hugging and doing everything else. I figured they won the Super Bowl based on the way they reacted. Bunch of fucking clowns.
Now that, plus based on the way the Cowboys play, they are dead even to go 8-8. 3-0 on home and 3-0 on the road. Or excuse me, 0-3 on the road. 40-7 though.
That is lopsided.
That is incredibly lopsided because I actually didn't even see any of these teams. I believe I had the under in this game.
Yes, you did. You had.
I didn't see both teams getting to 40 total.
Yeah, you had under 40. Token actually had over 40 as his blind bet of the week.
Lucky Lou.
So he got an extra point there. I took Jacksonville because I assumed Jacksonville was,
better than that,
worthy of beating a pretty mediocre Dallas team, but
or at least keeping it marginally close.
Yeah, no, they couldn't be bothered to do that.
Hey,
so.
Jags touchdown, help me out.
Yeah, Blake Bortles, 15 of 26 for 149. Way to go, stud. And Dak Prescott, not much better. 17 to 27 for 183. At least he had 2 scores and no picks.
Both were to Beasley, though. I mean, Beasley.
Cole Beasley woken up. Yeah.
So
that's not something to get excited about, Dallas fans. If you're waking up on Cole Beasley's 9 for 101 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, too bad he was
still
on fantasy, though.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, 11 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. That's an interesting wrinkle in the offense.
Is it time for Tony Romo to come out of retirement and lead this team into the promised land?
I think he likes it out.
I don't know. I mean, I think if Dak Prescott actually, because I watched this game. This is the first time I've seen Dak look to run. I mean, I understand the 11 carries, 82 yards. When he'd go through his progressions and he'd either throw it away or he was always a protector of the ball. Now he's actually utilizing his legs. I kind of wonder on a coaching staff that seems just very content with doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. All of a sudden, they put a new wrinkle in this offense. And I don't know if that's Dak, or I don't know if Jason Garrett finally, one of those brain cells activated. But I think this can create... I've been high on Dallas. I think they were I thought they'd be a division contender, and actually at 3-3, they are right now, especially with Philly, I believe, is only 4-2.
Right. And this is not a great division.
Philly's 3-3 as well.
Yeah, Philly's 3-3. Washington's
3-2. Okay, so
Cowboys are 3-3. But I mean, we both know that Philly and Washington are better than what their records show right now. At least it feels like they should be. And the Eagles at 3-3, technically in third place in the division, are scoring more points than anybody else in the division.
Dallas still gets 2 games against them. Dallas still gets 2 games against Washington. So
right. So
these are going to come down to the head-to-head games because it seems like Dallas, Washington, and Philly have the ability on any given Sunday to beat all the other teams. In the league.
It's going to be really kind of a coin flip in this division in the end, which I don't think anybody expected given the way that Philly kind of ran the table winning the Super Bowl last year, even with the backup quarterback leading them at the end. So I don't know what to make of this division anymore. It shouldn't be this wide open. I'm just glad to see the Giants are out of it.
Fair enough. Not really too much more really on this one. I was impressed with the way Dak Prescott utilized his legs at some point. And Zeke, regular game, 24 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. A couple targets in the offense in the receiving game. It was a typical Cowboys win of maybe like 10 to 17 points, but it ended up being a 33-point victory, which makes me wonder is if Leonard Fournette is that much. And talk about a receiving core. Fucking Jacksonville's is terrible. I understand Blake Bortles is not a great quarterback, but he does not have anything to throw to either.
No, maybe do you think they pursue talking to Des Bryant or something at this point?
Maybe, I guess. I mean, you got to try something. If they really think if they're really thinking they're contenders, which at 3-3 they still are, like we said, isn't that whole division 3-3 except for Captain Andrew Luck's troops?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook. I mean, letting Allen Robinson go probably looks worse for Jacksonville than it does better for Chicago. So, Jamal Charles, 5 carries, 5 yards. We forgot about him. That was the big signing this week, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot about
5 carries, 5 yards. 1 catch for 5 yards. Instant offense.
Yippee.
Move the ball forward.
Yeah. All right, a game I was intrigued to watch, and it didn't live up to my expectations, but I got this game kind of half right. I was on the total. I said the Ravens and the Titans are both good for 21 points, and the Titans said, fuck that noise. And the Ravens said, you got it, boss. Exact score, 21-0. Recap the picks.
Yeah, and this is one where we all missed. Token and I were both on Tennessee plus the 2.5. You had over 42 on the total.
Wait, was the plus the 2.5 the team total for Tennessee? Because you were off on that one, too.
Yeah.
You were off on the spread, and you're off on the Titans team total.
Yeah,
2.5.
they were,
I thought the Raiders couldn't score, and then this Titans game came on.
Oof.
Yeah.
This was ugly. This was
vintage Ravens football, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys watch this game, and I know I talk about the Ravens every week, and now they're 4-2. Vintage Ravens football, nothing pretty. They just put a game plan together that was a stranglehold on Tennessee, who was an offense who I wouldn't say is the greatest already to begin with, but they forced them into passing, which is not Mariota's strength. Derrick Henry was non-existent. Deion Lewis also non-existent in this game at all. Deion Lewis, 14 total yards. Derrick Henry, 26 total yards. That's the bread and butter of Tennessee. Baltimore shut it down with a great defense. Flacco looked average, 238, 1 touchdown. Collins was big. Excuse me.
Jesus.
Sorry. Collins was big. Crabtree was big. Willie Snead was big. And they just had a very pedestrian game, and they were able to swallow up another pedestrian team.
Yeah, and this was one of the crazier stats that got pointed out was that Marcus Mariota completed 10 passes, and he was sacked 11 times.
Yeah.
So getting knocked on his ass more than he actually completed a pass, you're not going to win many games that way. I was just looking, actually, right now the Ravens are the number 1 scoring defense, only giving up 77 total points on the season thus far. Far and away the best. The only team that even comes close is Chicago, who's given up 96.
And they're the only team right now so far in the NFL that has not given up a second-half touchdown.
Yeah, that I didn't even know. So, power to the Ravens defense. They're coming on stronger than I expected them to be. I didn't think that they were young enough or fast enough to be able to pull something like this off, but they're doing it. So, and they're doing it with Flacco looking not like the elite quarterback that everybody in Baltimore seems to think he is, but 25 of 37 for 238. That's apparently enough to win games in this league.
2 words: playoff contender. All right, Chiefs-Pats. That was a hell of a game to end Week 6 on Sunday.
Good Lord.
Up and down the field, with the exception of Dante Hightower, both defenses took the night off in this game. Say what you want. I mean, there's stats galore in this game. Patrick Mahomes, 352 and 4 touchdowns. You have Tom Brady, 340 and 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground. Sony Michel is looking like a stud, 106 and 2 touchdowns. But Kareem Hunt was no slouch either. He had 185 total yards, 80 on the ground, 105 through the air. And that touchdown where it seemed that he just snuck behind the defense.
Yeah, and you were talking about that right before it happened. You're like, bomb right down to Hill and goes to the distance.
I nailed a lot of these plays. It seemed like the offenses were predictable to only me and no one else. I could literally script this game. It was the weirdest thing. That doesn't happen very often, but as Token as my witness, literally was like, all right, this play is going to Kelsey, this play is going to Mahomes, this play is going to Tyreek Hill. It was just like, I don't know, maybe I should be taking the place of Brian Flores in that spot.
Oh, there you go. That's
armchair quarterback.
Yeah,
that's armchair quarterback for you.
If you're just going to armchair quarterback, you may as well try to make some money off of it. I've actually heard about people applying for jobs based on the fact that they can armchair quarterback and or win at Madden games. because they know how to set up game plans. So
Well, fair enough. I mean,
then they apply to jobs in the NFL.
you might as well apply. You never know. You just might get it.
Yeah, the worst they can do is say no. But
Yeah.
this is a game where I thought Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill, between the two of them, putting up like godlike numbers, 250 through the air, and then Hunt 80 on the ground, just.
And Tyreek's was all in the second half.
Yeah, and just unbelievable game for them. You're right about Sony Michel. I love what I see out of this guy. Unbelievable player for New England, and hopefully, I mean, they haven't had this kind of grinded out every down back since clock killing Corey Dillon, but he was only in town for a couple of years. So this is the kind of guy that New England hasn't really had as a career guy, like front to back, since I can't even say Curtis Martin because he went to the Jets at the end of his career. But
24 receptions to 7 different receivers. Sony Michel didn't have a catch, but he was targeted in the passing game. I mean, look at the weapons. Gronkowski, 3 for 97. Chris Hogan, 4 for 78. Edelman, 4 for 54 and a touchdown. James White, 5 for 53. Gordon, 5 for 42. Cordell Patterson got in. I mean, Devlin, whatever. He had 2 catches, but he's not really a factor in offensive play.
No.
But it's just like now you're seeing the New England team that every year it's like you just line them up. It was like, before, even with Amendola
Chunks
last
of
year.
yards, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, who do you stop? Okay, stop Gronk. Fine. They got Edelman and Amendola. Okay, fine. We'll stop them. Well, now they got Brandon Cooks. Now you got Josh Gordon. It's just like they're back in that who do you stop phase.
right,
Yeah.
and don't forget about Hogan because
I said Hogan.
Yeah. Oh, did
Yeah.
you? Oh, whatever. I'm not listening to you. So you're right, and it's not only that these kinds of that they have all the different weapons out there every week, but every week they feature a different guy. So even if you think you're stopping their number one target for the week, you're not. They're going to use somebody else.
Well, the number 2 and 3 are ones on other teams as well.
Oh, yeah.
Same with Kansas City. Hill, Hunt, Kelsey, Watkins, Conley. They got the same issues. Let's recap this our picks on this one.
Yeah, we all went chicken shit and took money lines in this one. Token and I were on the right side of it. You were on the wrong side of it, Aaron, but you did take it as your blind bet, so you didn't actually lose any points.
All right, well, let's recap the points.
So, we started the week, I was in last place at 4 points, Token had 10 points, Aaron was at 18. After going -7 for me this week, I'm currently sitting at -3 points. Not a great week.
Is that bad?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
Hey, you did have 1 push, so that helped out a
Yeah,
little.
that did, it wasn't a loss. Token ended up with 4 points this week. He's sitting at 14 points. Aaron actually went -3. You're at 15 points. We have a 1-point game between the two of you right now.
We got actual.
So-
I actually have to start doing research this week.
This is something that you're going to have to pay attention to.
All right, quickly, anybody changing their Super Bowl picks? You are at Rams and Chiefs right now.
Keeping the same right now.
You are at Rams and Pats.
Never changing that one.
And I am at Rams and Bengals, and even despite the loss, I think it's financially safe to just hold on right now. So,
Yeah, there you go.
I still owe $1 to the jar. Somebody will call me out on that here soon. We want to thank our sponsors, VGK, Pop Sockets, ChaiPoker.com, and, of course, 12-Ounce Sports Radio, where you can hear us every Monday, every Thursday, every Saturday, and every Sunday. Monday is our recap show from the weekend in sports, mostly NFL. Thursday is our regular podcast. We talk about all the different things in the world of sports going on. Saturday is our NCAA picks. Sunday is our NFL picks. Obviously, tail us or fade us on those. Some weeks are better than others, as you can see. Again, I want to thank 12-Ounce Sports Radio for putting us on every week. And if you aren't listening to us on 12-Ounce Sports Radio, you can hear our podcast on our Vegas Squares website, vegassquares.com. You can also interact with the show. You can email us at vegassquares@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is @VegasSquares. Spike's Twitter handle is @SpikeMcAwesome, and Token Tony's handle is, @TokenTony89?
I believe that's it, yeah.
He doesn't tweet often, but...
I haven't been on Twitter in a while, but that will change here shortly, so.
But anyways, for Spike, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. We will catch you on Thursday.